You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling. You close your eyes. You tell yourself to go to sleep. You think you are doing nothing. You think your brain is resting. But you are wrong. You are actually being held hostage. Almost immediately, your mind starts to scream. You suddenly remember a minor mistake you made 5 years ago. You find yourself arguing furiously with someone who isn't even in the room. You are physically perfectly safe, but mentally, you are fighting for your life. Society tells you this is a personal failure. You think you just lack focus. You label yourself as an overthinker. But biologically, you are not broken. You are perfectly normal. When you take your attention off the outside world, a massive, invisible architecture wakes up inside your skull. Neuroscientists call it the default mode network. Think of it as a shadow government running your mind. It operates completely in the dark. It consumes a massive amount of your body's energy. And it waits, patiently, for the exact moment you try to rest. To understand why it tortures you, you have to look back. Your brain is not designed to make you happy. Your brain is designed to keep you alive. Imagine your early human ancestors on the savannah, the ones who sat quietly, perfectly content, watching the clouds, were the first ones to be eaten by predators. You are the genetic descendant of the most successfully paranoid apes. The survivors were the ones who constantly simulated danger, the ones whose brains obsessed over what was moving in the tall grass, or what would happen if the tribe turned against them. That hypervigilance is the only reason you are alive today. But today you are no longer hunted by wild animals. You live in a safe, climate-controlled box. Your biological machinery, however, does not know that. Your default mode network is still running ancient survival parameters. But now, it projects them onto an unread email from your boss, onto a delayed text message, onto an awkward silence in a meeting. When left alone in silence, this survival engine desperately hunts for a problem. And if it cannot find a physical threat, it will invent a psychological one. Running these relentless simulations takes a massive physical toll. Every imaginary argument you construct, every grudge you hold onto, burns actual biological fuel. This is why you can feel completely exhausted after a day of doing absolutely nothing. You literally drain yourself just by existing inside your own head. To escape this torture, we built an entire civilization around distraction. You scroll endlessly through short-form videos. You fall asleep with the television on. You do this not because the content is actually valuable, but because you are terrified of the silence. You use the digital noise as an anchor to suppress the shadow network. For decades, neuroscientists thought this was just the human condition, an inescapable background noise that you could never turn off. Until they looked at the brain scans of people in flow states. When you are perfectly engaged in a highly demanding task, your default mode network doesn't just quiet down, it completely powers off. The parts of your brain that generate the concept of you physically shut down. Researchers pushed this even further with advanced meditators, monks who had trained for thousands of hours to voluntarily stop the internal simulation. In the MRI scanner, their brain networks physically decoupled, revealing the most unsettling truth about human perception. The feeling of having a distinct, permanent identity is not a biological fact. It is a generated hallucination, a story your brain weaves so you have a main character to worry about. When the network shatters, the storytelling machine breaks. The physical boundary between your skin and the rest of the universe dissolves. The concept of the past ceases to exist. The anxiety of the future evaporates. The voice in your head goes completely silent. Your brain still processes the light hitting your eyes. You still feel the temperature of the room, but there is no ego left to claim ownership of those sensations. You don't die, but the construct of your identity does. You are left floating in pure, unfiltered awareness. We spend our entire lives meticulously managing our identity. You argue with the voice in your head, believing it is who you truly are. You treat your ego like a solid block of concrete. But identity is just the noise your brain makes when it has nothing else to do. When the thinking finally ceases, the illusion fades, and only reality remains. If this gave your brain something to process, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring reality. Share with a fellow overthinker, and I will see you in the next one.